Dr. Desiree Yap, AM. And I would like to thank especially this African Universities Association for hosting this webinar and for allowing us to benefit from their wonderful services and this wonderful webinar capacity. And also especially to Dr. Debota Buhari of Nigeria, who's been a wonderful support in this and has facilitated this connection. I'd like to thank also Dr. Antonella Vezzani and Dr. Joyce Barber for generously agreeing to give their time to moderate this evening's events and to keep us strictly to time. There are a couple of little housekeeping guests, and one of them is that if you're not speaking, please, I encourage you to mute yourself so that we can hear others clearly. And also to know that we are recording this webinar so that we can share with those from our website, probably put a link on our website, the MWIA website, for those who are unable to attend. So anyone who's not happy about having their happy face on their and name on the webinar, please mute, change your name also, your identity if you like, and also you can switch your cameras off. Now, some other housekeeping. I think we are probably ready to proceed now with the events of the evening, and I welcome Dr. Eleanor Nwadinobi, our president, for her address. Thank you, Eleanor.
I would like to thank you profusely, the Mentoring and Leadership Special Interest Group, for your kind invitation to me as president of MWIA to give an opening address at this webinar under the leadership of Dr. Magdalena Simonis. And I welcome our members and friends from around the world. I applaud and celebrate our MWIA members who are making giant strides in different fields of endeavor. They are a source of pride to every woman and girl out there, and they stand as beacons of light to show that we can break the glass ceiling and achieve our goals. MWIA members over the years have demonstrated extraordinary ingenuity, creativity, and resilience in the face of enormous challenges. The COVID-19 pandemic is a good example. MWIA, believe it or not, was formed in 1919 in the midst of the Spanish flu, and it is our coping mechanisms and leadership qualities which offer a template for building back better. We don't have to look too far to find role models, mentors, and leaders within MWIA, because we all are leaders and mentors in one way or the other. A good leader communicates effectively, shows strength of character, exhibits courage, and creates hope. MWIA has had her challenges recently, and these challenges provide an opportunity for transformative change. Rising from the rubble, we will build solidarity. We will cement collegiality. We'll foster sorority and provide healing in harmony. I will end with my personal story. My number one role model is my late mum. I learned at the feet of mentors and leaders within MWIA over my journey of nearly 40 years. I joined the Medical Women Association of Nigeria through its Enugu branch in 1982 and I rose to become state president in 1997 and national president in 2005. At international level, I served on the finance, scientific, ethics and resolution committees, and served on the executive committee in 2011 as finance committee chair. And I initiated the first MWIA online journal. I represented MWIA at the UN on the Department for Public Information NGO committee for 4 years. And I chaired the Public Relations Centennial Committee. I introduced innovations like the Centennial Scarf Competition, recipes, the fabric square collage, and the listing of supporters, a lot of you on this call, in our Centennial book. Today, I am president, and the rest, as they say, is history. I had the opportunity of being an international mentor on the Association for Women's Rights in Development in 1999 in their formal mentoring scheme. It was a deliberate and structured program with pairing and twinning. And as a mentor, I was a trusted advisor for career development and network expansion to my mentee, who was from South America. And today, in the course of my day job, we are running a mentoring program on safeguarding in the aid sector. Lastly, we need to document some of our personal mentoring and leadership stories that are inspirational. So I call on our MWIA Mentoring and Leadership SIG to document some outstanding mentoring stories, which can be published on our website. And as I always say, elbows locked, we can advance together, leaving no one behind. I look forward to listening to the erudite speakers that have been lined up for today. Thank you for listening, and all the best.
Thank you so much, Eleanor, for your wonderful address and informative presentation. It was actually wonderful to hear your background also. I now invite Dr. Desiree Yap for her welcome comments.
Good evening, everybody, and what an illustrious lineup we have tonight. I welcome everybody, and I congratulate Magdalena and her team on putting this very exciting program together. I think it's fabulous that the one thing that the COVID pandemic has got us all doing is being able to meet virtually so much better, and that I think we're really using this to our advantage. So congratulations, mentoring team, and I really look forward to this evening's program. Thank you.
Okay. Welcome to everybody. It's a great honor for me to introduce Professor Padmini Murthy. She is a global head director at the New York Medical College School of Health Science and Practice, but she is our General Secretary, the General Secretary of MWIA. Well, she will talk about leadership and medical women. Please, Padmini.
Thank you so much, Antonella. Hi, everyone. Greetings from New York, where it's 7:10 a.m. in the morning. Magda, thank you so much. And thank you, Wendy and Joyce, the three co-chairs, for doing this. Thanks a lot. So I've sent you my PowerPoint presentation, and thank you, Des, for you have the globe behind you, and I always get a kick seeing your Zoom background, because it just shows, tells us, reminds us that even though we are from different places, we believe in being physicians doing our duty. So thank you. So Magda, if I have any challenges sharing my screen, I will ask you, but otherwise I'm just going to start screen sharing. And thank you again, Antonella, for your kind words. Okay, can everybody see my screen, please? Yeah, Magda, is my screen seen? Thank you. Okay, so thank you, everyone. When Magda reached out to me and she said to talk about leadership and medical women, and you can see I have the human right icon in here, because that shows with the stethoscope and also with the olive branch. The reason is because as physicians, unconsciously or consciously, we try to uphold the human rights. I mean by we, it's just not an individual person, it's collective. So this is what we have to do. And this is what we strive to do. So, yeah. Moving on, yeah. So what are the objectives of my talk? Very briefly, and I keep to time. Everybody knows I am a stickler for time, so I'm not going to go over time. And the objectives today are, I'm just defining leadership briefly, discussing the role of physicians as leaders and importance K-I-S. I didn't misspell it, ladies and gentlemen. It's not KISS, but K-I-S. So we'll see what K-I-S stands for. So what is leadership? When I was like looking over as to what exactly I would use for this, and I was just thinking, leadership is a process of social influence, as you can see, which maximizes the efforts of others. It's just not about one person. It's not like about what I am doing, what do I bring to the table, this is whom I was with, or this is what I'm doing, and I'm posting a picture on Facebook or tweeting about it. It's like, what have I been able to do, like to galvanize others? This is what leadership is all about. It's not about an individual, it's about the organization, it's about the cause we stand for. And I think women physicians, Magda, you said it so well starting, is we don't have formal training, and some people have that skill set. Some people are born leaders, they lead. But the one thing about leadership is, which is important, we need to think beyond the greater picture. It's just not about one person. And leadership.
Hello, Prof. I'm sorry to cut in.
Can you ask somebody to mute themselves? It's very disconcerting. Please.
Please, sorry to cut in. The participants want you to enter the slideshow mode so that they see the text very well.
Yeah, but you know, that could have been set up. No, slideshow more, because if I change this now, it's going to mess it up. That's why I ask, can everybody see my slides? Magda, do you want to share it and I can go on? Okay, shall I stop screen share? I can't hear you.
I think that's gonna take some time.
So no, Minnie, the screen, Minnie,
yeah,
Minnie,
yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Your screen share is fine. If it's not full screen, it doesn't matter. They're still quite visible. They're clear. So just proceed for now. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. But can you please ask the person not to interrupt me, because it is disconcerting. I'm sorry about that. It really throws you off. Thank you, Magda. So, so what I was just trying to say, that the other thing about leadership is that we need to think about, as I said, about ourselves. And I hope I get that 15 seconds when I was interrupted, Magda.
You will.
Thank you very much. I just want to be clear up in front. But the other thing about leadership is, I have found that, and I have learned from really some great leaders, is you need to be in the background. Sometimes when you think some things are uncomfortable, we need to think about the bigger picture, because that is a mark of true leadership. You cannot expect people to call you a leader by bullying them, as a lot of people do in politics. I'm not even going to go there, but it's by your actions, deeds, and words. And now moving on. Well, these are some of our women physician leaders. This is Elizabeth Blackwell. And Wendy, I'm sure you'll agree with me as Americans how proud we are of Elizabeth Blackwell. She was the first woman physician in the United States of America. And she went through so many trials and tribulations. And I really like what she said. If society will not admit of women's free development, then society must be remodeled. So even now, she is 200 years old. We are celebrating her 200th anniversary in the American Medical Women's Association. And as women physicians, we are very proud of Elizabeth Blackwell, not because of what she did, but also because of how she paved the way. We really stand on the shoulders of these women. She had to fight all along to get into medical school. She had to fight not to get married, but to pursue her path in those days when women had traditional gender-based roles. So this is something which I think we really need to pay attention to, that how women like these have really left an indelible mark. And the other thing, ladies and gentlemen, none of us is perfect. In the imperfections around is leadership, because leadership is like a phoenix rising out of ashes. When you have trouble, you bounce back, you hit harder. That only happens when you don't think of yourself. You need to disconnect yourself from the organization. Being a leader is not slandering somebody. Being a leader is not being an obstructionist. Being a leader is being selfless, taking a back step. You're the captain of the ship. You need to take credit when the ship sinks. You need to take responsibility when the ship sinks, and you need to give others credit when the ship overcomes a storm. This is what women like Elizabeth Blackwell have taught us. It's just not only in medicine. It was all throughout. It's just not medicine. They just told us how to get on with our lives. And the other great women physician leaders are Anandbai Joshi, who was the first Indian lady doctor. In those days, she came and studied here in the United States of America with other colleagues in Philadelphia. So what does this tell us? She was a pioneer. She broke barriers because coming from a family which was traditional Orthodox, she crossed the 7 seas, as they would say, to come here. And then we have Dr. Esther Paul Lovejoy, an American physician who started Medical Women's International more than 100 years ago. So this is leadership. She went through a lot of trials and tribulations, as did Dr. Bertha Van Hoosen. They were colleagues and compatriots who started American Medical Women's Association. So what I'm trying to say is these women were trailblazers. It doesn't mean it should end with them. We have so much to take from them and move forward. And I think all of us are leaders, especially now during COVID, whether we are members of this organization or some other organization, we are all doing so much because we are putting ourselves much below, on the lowest rung of the ladder, because we are working to address what we can do by providing patient care, by providing support, by trying to improve public health and beat the pandemic, and also to address the social determinants of health. So a woman leader needs to address, in medicine, the hallmark is you look at equity, and if you see something which is unjust, don't be afraid to speak. At the same time, do not blame somebody before you know all the facts. This is really a hallmark of leadership. Last slide, ladies. KIS is keep it simple. It's not KISS, it's keep it simple. That means your message needs to be simple. And also, I really like this picture because it's about this goddess who's doing so many things. This is what we are doing. For example, when we are physicians, we are physician leaders, we are not neglecting our professional duties, we are not neglecting our personal commitments. And also one thing is we need to take time.
Only 1 minute.
Yes, thank you so much. So what I wanted to say as I'm wrapping up, we can do it. We can do it because by working as a team, and the earmark, or what is the trademark of a leader, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, 2 cents, 2 paisa worth. I'm Indian American. I'm so proud of being Indian American. I'm proud of my Indian heritage, proud of the country where I live in, and I'm a citizen of, and all of us, and I would call myself a global citizen. We can do it. So thank you so much for the time. And I think I did keep to time. Thank you. I will be on for the panel discussions. Thank you so much again, Magda, Antonella, Wendy, and Joyce, for your work in doing that. Des, everybody, thank you all.
Thank you, Minnie. Thank you very much. And now, Associate Professor Magdalena Simonis, she is a chair of the MWIA Mentoring and the Leadership Special Interest Group. And she is also co-chair of the MWIA Scientific and Research Subcommittee. She is president and the national coordinator of the Australian Federation of Medical Women. So the title of her speech is Strong-Based Coaching, CPR for Growth Throughout Change. Please, Magdalena.
Thank you, Antonella, but I think it was Wendy Bernstein who is next in order to speak. So I'm not sure. Wendy, how do you feel about me presenting?
That's fine. Go ahead. Run tight. You're fine.
Sorry about that. That's okay. I'll share. So thank you very much for your wonderful introduction there, Antonella. And I'm going to share my screen now with you all. And so I'm talking to you about strengths-based coaching, tapping into resources for support, growth, and resilience. And I think that this is really important for us to understand that there are different ways in which we can display our inner strength in achieving the things that we want to do. Now, where strengths-based coaching emanates from is from research that was undertaken years ago through the Department of Social Work and psychologists. And Saleeby in 2006 identified that people really possess various competencies and resources that may be tapped into that will improve their situation in any situation. A very simple way of looking at strengths-based coaching is that it defines strengths through 3 interlinked aspects, or called, we refer to that CPR, it's an initialization, and C, as opposed to cardiopulmonary resuscitation, but in fact, in a way, it's cardiopulmonary resuscitation for your sense of purpose, ability, and potential for achievement. C represents competence, capacities, and courage. P stands for promise, possibility, and positive expectations. And R stands for resilience, reserves, and resources. Now, this is very important because what strengths-based coaching really tries to connect individuals with is their inner capacity to find within their environment and within themselves answers to their existing problems. The key features of the strengths-based process, which can be taught, self-taught, and we often do this inadvertently in our consultations with our patients. And the 6 key features of this process are focusing on the process of strengths, your interests, the knowledge and capabilities, and not on the problem or the deficits, the symptoms, the weaknesses. Yeah. So it's the helping relationship between the person who is the coach and the individual is mutual, collaborative, and there's a partnership of power with another person. So it's not like a coach is the powerful and it's not like a mentor-mentee situation. It is very different in that context where there's an equality between the two, and it's a sense of guidance and partnership. Individuals themselves are responsible for their own actions and they direct their own helping efforts. And we serve within a caring community. So you base your actions upon the assumptions and the beliefs that around you there are resources and there are people and there are things that you can tap into. All individuals have the capacity to learn, grow, and change. Very important features. Strengths-based person-centered approach encourages helping activities in naturally occurring settings. So it encourages you as an individual to be a facilitator, to assist others also. And that the entire community is viewed as an oasis of potential resources and naturally recurring resources, which are considered firstly before you seek other supports and services. And what struck me about strengths-based learning coaching, I learned more about this when I examined what was happening to our own medical students here in Australia. The Beyond Blue survey in 2013 was a shocking revelation of the mental health burden in the profession. And young doctors at the time of transition from university to hospital are particularly vulnerable for mental health decline and even suicidal ideation. And in this survey of 2013, what it indicated was that, less than 30-year-old doctors were, around 5.9% had very poor mental health, and up to a quarter of them had suicidal thoughts. Really disturbing statistics as compared to the general population, where the mental health burden was around the 2.5% mark for the younger and 0.5% in other professions. So there was something about being doctors that put people at more risk of having some mental health issues. And the Malzach burnout inventory also identified emotional exhaustion as being a key factor in both the young and the older doctors, and fears of low efficacy. So having self-doubt, feeling that you don't have the answers to everything, which sometimes we absolutely don't. And then also high levels of cynicism, feeling negative about the world around you and what's going on in the bigger picture. So I found that this was very disturbing, and I couldn't shake it off. And I started to think about how and what could be done to improve the situation. That's where I learned more about strengths-based coaching and have realised that, in fact, we do a lot of this in primary care and in general practice. And I've actually been doing a lot of this in my practice actively and also with the med students that I teach. Now, just this is a visual of what strengths-based coaching can provide in a hospital doctor situation, especially, which is where the high level of risk for mental health decline exists from transition, as I said, from university to hospital, is, you know, if I tell anyone about the way I feel burnt out, or I'm out of my depth, or I don't know the answers to these questions, I don't know how to manage this, it'll ruin my career. So these are very real fears that young doctors and doctors across the course of their career might feel. And with some strengths-based coaching, they may well feel supported. So teaching doctors, young doctors, and having that skill set for all of us along the way can be very, very beneficial. So we need to look closely at ourselves and our environment, and we need to tap into our character strengths. Now, this is a really important factor and feature in order to achieve what we want. We need to positively harness our feelings, harness our positive feelings. And when we look at our strengths, our own internal strengths and what's going on, we can gain confidence in ourselves and we can direct that energy to areas where we're struggling. So it's really digging deep into yourself and getting to a happy place and connecting up with how you are when you are at your best. Strengths are an interesting concept, and I'm going to go into more detail around what they are. But in short, they're widely valued positive traits. They reflect our universal capacity to think, feel, and behave in ways that benefit ourselves and others. And they are how we might exhibit a particular virtue. And believe it or not, there are 24 capacities to bring forth positive qualities or these strengths. And I'll identify them and itemize them for you later. It basically also means that we have potential for more, each and every one of us. So rather than focusing on what's wrong with the situation, it's about focusing on what's best about you. And it's shifting the inner conversation away from deficiencies or problems to thinking about what's best about you. What are your higher strengths? How might you tap into your own curiosity, your kindness, and how you might use that to solve your problems? Or how you might tap into your sense of hope or self-regulation to become more resilient. If you want to create a better relationship with that person, how might you tap into your sense of fairness and forgiveness? So the 24 signature strengths are listed in this round circle, and they are unique to each person, and they are qualities that we can tap into which define our strengths and character. And it's a really good exercise for us to look at this list and say which ones are natural for you to use. If you try using any one of your signature strengths in different settings or in different ways, it helps you build resilience. So the list is 24, and we can learn them off by heart and look at them within ourselves: humility, leadership, kindness, hope, a love of learning, teamwork, gratitude, creativity, social intelligence, self-regulation, being able to manage your own emotions and frustrations, honesty, appreciation of beauty, appreciation of intelligence of others, perseverance, humour, love, spirituality, forgiveness, fairness, zest, curiosity, bravery, judgment, and critical thinking. So these are important for us to identify which ones are natural for us to use and to actually use them in different contexts.
Only 1 minute.
Thank you. Well, I've actually finished. These are some resources. I've actually done a podcast, which is for the agile, it's in a corporate sector of the community, so stepping outside of my medical role as a coach. And if I can share this podcast with you for 55 minutes, and it's quite a bit of fun on what strengths-based coaching is about. And these are some of the interesting TED Talks and books that you can access that might be able to give you some further information on strengths-based coaching if you're interested. So I would like to say thank you to everyone for attending, listening, the mentoring and leadership group. And I'm very grateful for your time.
Thank you, Magda, for your speech. Thank you very much. Please, Dr. Barber, if you want, may you introduce Dr.
Yes.
Professor Wendy.
Okay, Dr. Wendy,
Yes.
welcome to this webinar. Dr. Webinar is a graduate of Pennsylvania University and a board-certified professor of anesthesiology and has been a director of cardiothoracic anesthesiology for over 17 years. Dr. Wendy Bernstein, did I pronounce that correctly?
Close enough, it's good.
Thank you very much. He's also a long-standing and well-experienced trainer, training medical students, residents, fellows, and nursing. She's an expert in team training and leadership. Her extensive experience in leadership and mentoring is what we're going to benefit from this afternoon. Welcome, Dr. Wendy Bernstein. Please do your presentation. Thank you.
So can everyone see this and hear it?
Yes.
Perfect. So I wanted to thank you for your kind introduction, for allowing me to speak, and for adjusting the time for this presentation. It's not uncommon for women in an academic situation to be compared to the analogy of a leaking pipeline, and hopefully you can hear that in the background. Yep. Anyhow, because women leave academic medicine and research at a much higher rate than their male counterparts. But unlike that pesky drip of water for which people immediately call a plumber, it has not been a top priority to fix this leaky pipeline. And few systems have been put in place to prevent future leaks. My goal is to spend a few minutes to address this leak and what we can do about it. Back. Try that one more time. There we go. Understanding that women are underrepresented in academic medicine, especially in leadership and ranked positions. Simply put, these are the facts. The overall percentage of women in academic medicine is 38%, even though we have recruited up to about 47% of all recruits in the past decade. But during the same period, we have left, accounting for almost 41% of all departures. A high rate. And this trend continues to consistent findings in the presence of our leadership positions in terms of associate professors or professors, chairs, or even deans. And these same numbers also correspond to women in science, technology, and engineering. And this trickle-down effect leads to disparities in pay, in controlling for specialties, in hours of work per week, publications, and even grants. My goal here is simple, to give you some simple advice on how we can change that outlook. Women are less likely than their male counterparts to have mentors, despite the proven benefits of mentorship for career development. But there are some things that we can do to help this process. The few pieces of advice today I got from some of the mentors that I help out. And these were some of the things they wanted you to know. Basically, so that you can take matters into your own hands and focus on what you can do to help your career. The first one, setting your sights. The second one, learning to say no. And third, how to build your network. For setting your sights, what do you want? What are your goals, your challenges, your aspirations? What do you truly enjoy? Where do you want to be in 10 years from now? What is your dream for yourself? What type of position are you ultimately seeking? And what pathway in medicine is most exciting for you? Where do you want to place your intellectual focus? Do you want to concentrate on research, on clinical practice, on medical administration, on scholarship, on teaching, or some combination of these? Do you want to be a famous researcher, a department chairperson, a dean, a great teacher, a compassionate doctor, or a devoted parent? There is nothing wrong with any of these choices, as long as they are what you want and not someone else. Write the dream for yourself. And take the time to do this. Avoid thinking about what others expect of you, but be true to yourself. Figure out your values and prioritize them. From a long-term perspective, what has the greatest reward for you? Your family, your friends, your work, or your profession? How would you like to be remembered by your family and colleagues? And what do you want others to say about you at your funeral? So now that you've set your goals and dreams, how will you get there? What barriers will you encounter? I think one of the biggest challenges that we have is learning to say no at the workplace, because you think that will get you ahead. But let's explore that. Women naturally want to be team players. They think accepting any and every challenge in the workplace demonstrates their commitment, their versatility, their ability to multitask. And if you're helpful, you get ahead, right? Well, who doesn't want someone who works hard and provides results, right? I think this might be good at the beginning, getting your name out there, establishing that you're a hard worker, but you will eventually reach a plateau. And saying yes will only get you so far. It does make you a reliable hard worker, but it doesn't make you a visionary. So what do you do about that? People at the top master selectivity. They select which priorities, which tasks, which meetings, which ideas, which steps to take. They apply intense scrutiny and targeted efforts on those few priorities that they want to excel. Strategically, they say no, and they put their decisions back on the person asking for instance. You know, how do you want me to best manage my time? How to manage my workload? Is there someone who can...
Would you please mute? Anyone who's not speaking, please mute.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
That's okay. What things...
Hello, Wendy. Please, can you unmute yourself?
Is that better? Yes, sorry, thank you. Don't know how that happened. Anyhow, strategically learn to say no. What things should you put on the back burner? Remind them that you can't do everything and that you need to make choices, but let them make that decision for you. Lastly, I want you to build your network. It's important to build a network of connections, sponsorship through national, international involvement, like what we're doing right here. This can increase your visibility and it's associated with success. Women are less likely to be sponsored and less likely to benefit from associated career advancement. So networking is about connecting. Be strategic, set social goals, be involved. You know, pick platforms to connect through social media, grow your LinkedIn connections. When you have a chance to meet someone, develop an elevator pitch. Make sure that you take advantage of opportunities to connect and practice. If you're not a natural, practice at this. You know, volunteer and give back, stay visible. Make sure that you've got to the groups that have helped you. As an alumni, serve as a mentor for programs for colleges and high school students. Through these organizations, you can meet other members and people who you can participate with and provide connections and expertise. Basically, putting it all together, it's a focus on you. It's on what you can do and what you should do to help the process. With these things in mind, you can help find those mentors and those sponsors to address your needs and propel you forwards. Basically, these are the few simple advice I give you, you know, to set you on your path to success, to come prepared, to communicate your wants and needs and desires, to have a vision, and basically develop a strategy together. This is the only way that you can help ensure your success in your career. So thank you. I have listed my email if you have any questions and comments, and I believe I have definitely stayed on time. Thank you.
And you did, Wendy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wendy. I'll now introduce Dr. Claribel Abam. Dr. Claribel Abam is a health specialist, a public health specialist, and the past national president from Medical Women Association of Nigeria. She's the current nominee for the post of Vice President, Near East and Africa. She's a Nigerian nominee. Dr. Claribel Abam, as I share her bio, you can see she's a woman of many parts. She has been the national president and is very active at the Medical Women International as well. She's served as one technical working group at the NGO Forum on the 58 and 59 sessions at the UN Commission on the Status of Women in New York. She has attended and contributed immensely to the success of all MWIA congresses since 1998 in the following countries: Sao Paulo, Brazil, New York, USA, even till 2021 at the centenary. Dr. Claribel has been a mentor to many young doctors, nurses, having served as a pioneer, chief executive of the River State Primary Health Centers. Please join me to welcome Dr. Claribel Abam, Nigeria's nominee for the post of Regional Vice President, Africa and Near East. Thank you. Dr. Claribel, you have the floor.
Thank you, Dr. Baba. And thank you for the opportunity to make this presentation. I will speak on informal mentoring and basically zero in on political mentoring. Very quickly, I define the terms and then I'll go on to mention what is important in mentoring at the political level. Mentoring is a relationship between the mentor and a mentee in a situation where the mentor is the one that has knowledge to share with the mentee. The mentor, in this case, will provide pragmatic advice, support, and help the mentee to understand what she or he needs to do in line with what the objective of the mentee is. If the mentee wants to go into politics, then the mentor is going to teach the mentee the rudiments of politics. And that's the way I'll define mentorship. And informal simply means doing something in a relaxed and friendly environment. There are no hard and fast rules. There's no time limit, to when you can mentor the person. And so the question is, what is the justification? Why do we want doctors in politics? Why should we mentor young female doctors to go into politics? And here I have said that doctors in the hospital can only help one patient at a time, and doctors in public health can only help a group of patients at a time. But the doctor in politics can help the entire community, the entire country. And therefore, it's important for doctors to go into politics to serve a larger population in terms of governance and development of health infrastructure, equipment, manpower, and research. And that's the importance why we say doctors should go into politics. Now, political leaders make policies and decisions that shape our lives, that shape even the way we work as doctors. And we know that when doctors are not in politics, the people who are in politics who do not have a good grasp as to what is important to us doctors lead us in the direction that does not serve our best interest. And that is why it is necessary for us to have young doctors venture into politics. Now, why female doctors? Because we know already that the political landscape is dominated by men, and men only mentor their fellow men. If in all of our countries, we know that the leaders are men, and when they want people to replace them, they generally will mentor men. So it's important for us to mentor our own, because men aren't going to do it for us. We are going to encourage our own to develop interest in politics and help them to aspire into political positions. Now, medical women, young doctors generally do not think about politics when they come from medical school. Every young doctor that comes out thinks about growing in the career, going through the residency training, becoming a consultant, and being a specialist in the profession. But very few think about politics. And I think it's important for us to redirect the minds of our young doctors to think about politics. Even our big medical institutions are headed by men. The World Health Organization, the World Medical Association, and these are political, political positions that make policies for global health. And it is important for us to be part of that. We also need to improve the statistics of medical women in various countries who are involved in parliaments, who are involved at the executive level. If we have countries that are run by female medical doctors, if we have parliaments that are run by female medical doctors, a lot of the things we advocate for in MWIA will naturally be done by them because they already have an understanding of what we need. Looking at history, we find that 89 women have been heads of government, and of these 89, only 29 have been doctors. So it means that we need to encourage more females to go into politics. Now, why should political mentoring be informal? We know that there is no medical school that teaches anything about politics, and it can only be informal so that we get people to understand what we are talking about. And when mentoring is informal, it creates an atmosphere of friendship. And when somebody is your friend, it's easier for the person to understand what you're talking about, to understand the concept you're trying to share, to actually follow you and learn the roots. It's easier when you're dealing with a friend than when you're in a formal setting where you always have the fear of not meeting up. But in an informal setting and in a friendship, it's easier to mentor somebody and let the person follow your footsteps, see what you do on a day-to-day basis, understand the rudiments, and then be able to make significant inroads into politics. Although mentoring at this level is actually not institutionalized, it still needs to have some structure. You need to outline some things that must be put in place. The mentee must understand that the relationship is such that the mentee must feel very free to approach the mentor at every time, and the mentor must always be available. It's not time bound. It's not like a set program that you say in 3 months you will complete it, or in 6 months you complete it. If you're mentoring somebody in politics, you mentor the person until the person gets to that political position that the person seeks. So it is not time bound at all. Now, also, what are the strategies that we adopt in mentoring people in politics? If you want to succeed really in mentoring people in politics, you must have a listening ear. You must be ready to listen, and you must be a people's person. You must be somebody that, people can come to you easily. You are easily approachable. You must be somebody that, people can rely on. You must be trustworthy. There must be mutual trust between you and the person you are mentoring in politics, because there's a lot of deceit and lies in politics. So as a mentor, you must present yourself in a way that your mentee can trust you, so that when the person has any interest in any political position, the person knows that you're not going to undercut her, and you're going to make sure that she gets that political position. You also need to be able to encourage your mentee to seek for very high office. Generally in medical women, we seek for positions in the association, and we feel that we have done very well. But that's just the beginning of it. If you have held positions in medical women, then you need to aspire to hold positions in the general populace, so that you will bring the experience that you have earned in medical women to run your country, to run whatever political position you aspire to. You climb the political ladder, and you are able to affect the people in your country in a more comprehensive way, rather than just what you're limited to in medicine. Now, what will I recommend for us to do as medical women to help those who want to do this? I would recommend that we provide a platform for female doctors to go into politics. We mentor them, we teach them what needs to be done. I would recommend that we encourage members who are already in high political positions to encourage younger doctors to join them rise through the ranks in politics. rise through the very basic positions. And when you bring the intelligence of medicine into a position in politics, you'll find that you will do far better. I'll encourage MWIA to encourage young doctors to go into politics. We organize training sessions for them, and then we show them what to do. And young doctors who want to go into politics, look for a senior doctor who is already in politics and attach yourself to the person, approach the person to mentor you. And you will find that in a very short time, we'll have a lot of doctors in politics, and it will change our society and it will change our world. This is the message that I have for us. And all of this is best done informally, because in the informal setting, both the mentor and the mentee are friends, and they are very free to grow together. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Claribel.
Dr. Abam.
Thank you so much for your presentation. Very, very nice.
Right, so I think it's now up to, yeah, Antonella, do we have any questions from the audience? Because our speakers now, all four have presented.
Yes, there is a question from the audience for Professor Wendy Bernstein. If only 41% of deportees are women, then men are actually departing at a greater rate. This is only the observation posed for Professor Bernstein.
Yes, that actually was what was said in the literature, and I can get you the reference on that. It's actually surprising. But I think it's 41% of all departures, which was interesting. Yes, it does mean that people are leaving medicine. And by that number, it looks like it's a smaller number of women. Unfortunately, the number of women in medicine is smaller. So it's 41% of that number.
Thank you.
Sure.
Sorry, I don't see any other question.
Could I just respond to that also a bit? Because it depends also on which country we're looking at, because every country has different proportions of male and female doctors. So we're seeing perhaps in the
it's in the US.
The US, UK. Yeah, it's the US, that's right. US, UK, Australia, the proportion of female doctors to male doctors is relatively equal, whereas in African nations, it might be 23% and rising. So it's not a generalizable.
I have a question, sorry, for Magdalena. What do you think about the sex of the mentor? Do you think it's important for female doctors to have a female mentor, or does sex not matter?
I think that mentoring should be without issue around gender. I think that we need to acknowledge that there are it's about communication and it's not about gender. And I think that there are many of us in this particular panel also who will acknowledge that we have had male mentors in our lives, be they either through family or through profession. So I think what really matters more is the mentor-mentee establishing a common ground around what their goals are going to be, because I think that mentoring is a really distinctly it's often misunderstood, and friendship is not mentoring, and coaching is also not mentoring necessarily. So if you're going to embark in a mentor-mentee relationship, it really needs to be with a set of goals, with a set of parameters that are both agreed upon, and with a set length of time, with a sort of achievable goals, and also an evaluation at the end of that. And so it's not really about gender at all. And I think that most of us will acknowledge that there have been male champions in our own lives. And I think that this also cross-communication between males and females helps engender those kinds of beneficial relationships too.
Thank you so much.
I actually have to echo that.
I think if anybody wants to ask a question, they should please raise their hand. We can identify you from the screen, and then you can ask your question. Okay, I see Nesochio for raising her hand. I'll just give you the numbers. Dabota Buhari number 1, Nesochio for number 2, and Oluwase number 3. Please unmute yourself and speak. Thank you. Dabota.
Yes, thank you very much, the presenters. My question goes to Magda. You said gender is not really a problem in mentoring. My question is, sexual harassment is also a problem in medicine. So how do we balance the issue of sexual harassment and mentoring if the mentors, the mentee and mentor are different sexes? For instance, if the mentee is a woman and the mentor is a man, how does she prevent the issue of sexual harassment coming up? Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Dabota. Firstly, I did not say that gender is not an issue. I said that mentoring should not be based upon the gender of the mentor-mentee relationship. Gender is an issue, as we know, and there is gender inequality. And it's not up to the woman to prevent any sexual harassment from occurring. It's certainly up to the woman, hopefully, to be able to call it out if it does occur, but that's a really difficult situation. This is a challenge across all professions and in all walks of life, that where you have males and females, because males have predominantly been in positions of power, and this is not what a mentoring-mentee relationship should be. It's not about power distribution, it's about teaching, it's about guidance, and that is why it's so important that both mentor and mentee have agreed, well, firstly, that the mentors are properly trained, properly screened, and that they are also carefully paired, and not necessarily based upon gender, but also based upon what the expectations are, and also the track record and reputation. Wherever we go, there's a reputation that follows us, and I think that this is really important in all aspects of our interaction with human beings. So that is one thing that women can do, perhaps, when they're pairing up with a mentor, because that is a really key thing. It's about doing a bit of homework on what their track record is. That's perhaps the only thing a female can do to protect herself. But outside of that, it's not up to women to protect themselves actively in that way. It's about men changing their behaviour and about gender equality being realised and us calling it out and supporting one another as women when others within our group call it out.
Thank you. Nesochio, please ask your question. Unmute yourself. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. My question is for Magdalena, and I just want to ask you, what do you think is better, strengths-based coaching or mentorship? What do you think is more, would benefit more beneficial to the people? Strength-based coaching or mentorship? Since mentorship has a timeline, and, you know, at the end of the day, possibly ends after that period, as a more sustained?
That's a really good question. I wouldn't like to put one against the other or pitch one against the other. I see strengths-based coaching as a really important oversight in our education system, to tell you the truth. I think that it's something that should be provided to support children at all stages of the development, and some education systems do talk about resilience training, and it has a lot to do with strengths-based coaching. It's about identifying your inner strength. It's about coming to know yourself and what your core strengths are so that you can tap into them, and also being able to tap into that happy place. What were you feeling when you were at your best, and how did that make you feel, and how did that make you respond, and how did that promote other positive actions in you? So recalling those positive experiences. We often recall our negative experiences and our negative emotions, but we very rarely teach ourselves to formally tap into those positive ones. So I think that from a life skill perspective, I think strengths-based coaching is probably one of those really important things that has been overlooked. I think that we as doctors do this inadvertently, and innately it comes to us when we're providing support to people we don't know. I think mentorship is something quite separate and quite different, and strengths-based coaching may be one of the tools that a mentor might assist their mentee with. And I think that they're separate, different, and equally important, because I do believe also that mentors, having someone that you can actually think of, that you know has experienced something similar to you and has the wisdom to assist in you finding those strengths in you, is important also. So I think they're equally important. But I think from what you've also gathered, I really encourage people to learn more about strengths-based coaching and implement this themselves.
Thank you. I think the last person should take the question, the number 3.
Thank you.
Please unmute yourself.
Yes, I'm unmuted. Thank you to everyone. I have 2 questions. One is to Dr. Abam, and the second, I really don't know who to direct that question to. So the first question to Dr. Abam is, how would you advise a young medical woman in politics with this, faced with this common challenge that women don't often support themselves in politics? I know there have been women in our team who are aspiring into political positions, but sometimes it seems the women are actually not even the ones supporting. Is there any role the mentor can play in that? That's my first question. And then the second question, so I don't know who can assist with that, is in a situation where you have approached someone as a mentor to mentor medical women in different developmental issues in life, and the person now demands for a commitment fee and says you need to pay some amount. How advisable in that? Is that still applicable in mentorship? Is that acceptable in mentorship? What would you advise as regards that? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. To answer you very plainly, the challenges that we have as women in politics is that a lot of women want to enter the political arena at the top. But in politics, you must start from the grassroots. You start at the bottom, and when you have a mentor, somebody who's been there before, the person can handhold you through the grassroots level. Forget about the issue of women not voting for women. There aren't so many women in the bottom level of politics. It's when you enter there, and as you grow in it, you get your own popularity, you get your own crowd, and then you'll find that you don't necessarily have to have just women. Even the men will put you forward and vote for you. But we need to learn to enter at the bottom level and work, for a reasonable length of time to acquire your own popularity before you venture into looking for a political position. You can't just, because you are a doctor or because you are intelligent, want to just come up to the top. It doesn't generally work like that in politics. You work yourself through the system, get into the system, get yourself popular before you go for a political office. Now we're talking about paying a mentor. Formal mentoring has to be paid for because the mentor actually does some work in preparing to mentor you. And that's why formal mentoring is different from informal mentoring. The informal mentor may not really require any form of payment because you have an informal relationship. But a formal mentor that is taking you through a structured program to a specific goal may have to prepare a plan over time. And in such structured mentoring, there's a timeline. And the person will be following you every step of the way to ensure that you're following the program. And that is why there's a fee for that, because the person will commit their time and their experience into taking you through all of those stages. It's very different from informal mentoring, where you really don't have to pay that much. You just develop a relationship that is symbiotic to both of you, and you grow in that informal setting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Antonella, do you have anything on the chat?
Okay.
Antonella, okay. Is there something on the Antonella?
Oh, sorry. There are no other questions. I want to thank all our colleagues and all speakers for their suggestion and reflection on this.
Sorry, my hand is up for questions.
No other questions. I don't see any other questions on the.
My hand is up for questions.
Oh, sorry.
In the chat box.
Oh.
Okay. Do we still have time? If we have more time, can do maybe our please unmute and ask our question. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Beautiful presentations. I believe that mentoring is a two-way thing, the mentor and the mentee. The three presenters did a very beautiful job, but they all seem to be from one side of the two-way system. They all seem to be from the mentor side and none from the mentee. It's like we are hearing it from one side of the equation. I think next time we'll be very balanced if we have young doctors too presenting alongside the more experienced doctors. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that. I will respond to that because I agree. I think that, and this is one of the big discussions that we had at as a mentor-mentee, as a mentoring and leadership special interest group. Having the voice of other members is very important. And we have had a conversation by email already around whether or not we have more of these sessions throughout the year and invite members from within our organisation who can present from their own experience, who are not necessarily keynote speakers and who are not necessarily usually given the opportunity to speak on these platforms, so that we can have a variety of voices. So I agree with you. I thank you for bringing it up. We have discussed this, and this is also the potential of the other aspect of this webinar today. It's also to draw upon your insights and also to respond to some of your requests for our future events. So we'll take that down and note that. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know if any of the speakers still have, yes, Paul Tintan.
Hi.
Paul, thank you.
Hello, hi, I'm from Malaysia.
Yes.
I'm from Malaysia. I'm very happy to say that in medical school, about 60% of our students are, sorry, my dog. 60% of our students are female. I just wonder where in the world there are like mentoring programs which are set in, because for consultants to mentor their trainees or their, it's actually not easy. I don't think it's good, but whether there are any systemic arrangements that everyone who goes into a hospital or something have a mentor assigned, so that they will like. So I'm not sure whether internationally there are any, because it troubles me to see that the high rates of suicidal thoughts of course, I want to ask what type of, how that is measured, and whether that study has been repeated and the same finding is found, and but on top of suicidal thought, I wonder whether anyone has done studies on quitting, medical people who actually quit, not because of family, not because of choice, but because they just gave up on medicine, and I just wonder whether that part of it is because we failed to mentor them, or whether, in the process, and whether it's a mental issue, So I just wonder what the speakers, may have to say, whether there should be a systemic program set in to mentor the young doctors as they come out through their career right from the beginning. Yeah. Thank you.
Wendy,
Wendy, would you like
your
to
comments?
respond to that?
Magda, do you want me to, or do you want to?
Wendy, no, would you be able to respond to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be an amazing idea to have an international mentoring type program. However, there's a lot of cultural issues and differences that we would have to deal with. And I think that's something that we have grappled with. As for your other part about the leaking part, there was a Giambalvo grant that was done through the American Medical Women's Association that we actually have, where we actually went back to find women who had left medical fields and why. And that data is being scrutinized right now with presentation at the AMA in June. It looked at reasons for why people were leaving: lack of support, lack of mentorship. It's unfortunately a plague. How does your career interact with your family life? There is not a lot of work-life balance, and the people in charge don't get that. That's why the value of having a male mentor at a senior level, I think, is valuable, because for their end, it's education. It's understanding what we have to go through, because they don't get it, and they need to know. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you, Wendy. Yeah. We also had a conversation with our mentoring and leadership group at the beginning when we first kicked off, because I was flying around some ideas around what we could do as a group. And it seems that there are many international laws that restrict doctors from one nation to another nation in terms of medico-legal reasons, not just cultural reasons, to extend a mentor-mentee type relationship. So unless you buy into a particular contract, a paying contract where you sign a sort of a disclosure form, it's really difficult for an organisation such as MWIA to provide that. Most national medical associations have mentoring groups within them. I know that the Australian Medical Association now has launched an excellent mentoring program, and also the University of Melbourne Medical School has an excellent mentoring program for its medical students, and it requires that mentors be screened firstly, and also be formally trained and then paired up. I applied to be one of the mentors in the Department of Medicine, and I was rejected on the basis of the fact that I am a lecturer and teacher, and that I might be biased and provide. So they were very strict. I mean, I would have loved to, but that's the sort of thing that they're watching very carefully. Any other questions or comments or suggestions for our future events? Because I think that, I have thoroughly enjoyed bringing this together with our group, and as I exchanged with our group, I felt very energised in focusing on the presentations and giving myself the space and time to really ponder what it is that we're going to be providing today in terms of information and tools and pearls for our members and our friends to be able to take away with them. And I think that each one of us here, Minnie with her leadership skills and leadership experience and knowledge and connection with the past, and internationally recognised across so many different sectors. Wendy with your outstanding leadership and mentoring experience and training, and Claribel with your understanding and knowledge of and I think wisdom around getting into politics, because that's where change happens. I think that this has been a really wonderful session from my perspective, and I hope that you've all enjoyed this too. We really look forward to hearing your feedback. I think we've probably come to the close of our session, even though we do have some more time. But I think that given that we've all contributed so much of our time, and it's late at night here and it's early in the morning for Wendy and me, and we're all you know, we're all looking at life-work balance. I think that what we can look forward to is more of these sessions, a more diverse representation of our voices, and also we will be sharing this information on the MWIA website, and to the attendees you will have access to the slides for your enjoyment and use. And unless there's anything others would like to say or add.
Yes, Magda, I think Chidima's hand has been up for quite a while now. Since we still have a few minutes, maybe we should allow her to speak. Okay, Chidima, please go ahead and speak or mute yourself.
Well, good afternoon, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
I think her network is not coming up with it. We can't hear you, Chidima. So
okay. Can you hear me now? Hello.
Okay, speak. Yes, okay. We can.
Okay, I thanks everyone first, host and speakers. I've really learned a lot from this session. But I have a question. I have this concept where I've always likened doctors to soldiers, just that we are fighting a different kind of war. Please, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. We are standing between humanity and disease. And every day we watch people die. And sometimes we are at the forefront, and sometimes we feel we are responsible. Sometimes you know you can't help this person, but still there's this feeling of helplessness, self-doubt, and all these things. And I think this contributes to the mental health problems that doctors have. But I've not really seen any structure where for instance, doctors, soldiers have this structure where when they come back from battle, they have to go to a psychologist and get some mental.
Sì, sì. Ogni tanto sparisce anche la connessione così.
Antonella, please unmute yourself.
Okay.
Unmute yourself.
Yes. Oh,
Chidima, are you on?
Yes, I'm on. Can you hear me, please? Hello? Okay. Sorry, I don't know what you heard. Okay, I don't know what you've heard so far, but I was saying, is there any structure where doctors can assess mental health support that is tailored to their needs? That was one. And number two, I want to ask, how about grief counseling for doctors? Because when we lose our patients, we also grieve, but we counsel our patients. We have grief counseling for patients, but we don't have for doctors. And I think especially for females who are quite emotional, it might be worth it to look into grief counseling for doctors, especially young ones coming up. So we'll know that these things happen and we can express ourselves without having fear of losing our jobs or being seen as weak and so on and so forth. That's my number one question. Then my second question is this. How can someone access, how can someone know direction? For instance, it was said that, okay, sorry, I'm taking so much. It was said that when you want to get a mentor, you have to set your sights on what you want to achieve. So you'll be able to know who to approach to help you, who help mentor you. So is there any program where someone can be guided on what side?
Minnie, would you like to respond to that?
Thank you, Magda. I just wanted to say, partly to answer to that, when thank you for your question. You talked about mental health issues. We are all burnt out, and I can tell you that in New York, one of our colleagues who was an ER physician, she committed suicide because she could not bear to see the suffering of COVID. So what I have come across and talking to other people is we all need to take that time for ourselves. And as Magda put it so eloquently, if you say you are not well, you can't cope, because we've been regarded as robots, as machines, like whatever happens, you got to go out there, you got to do your duty. But we are human beings, we have feelings too. So one of the most important things is you need to take 5 to 10 minutes for yourself. De-stress. This is what will make us go on and let out your feelings. You have somebody to talk to them. And certain institutions, well, at least in my university, New York Medical College, where I'm a professor, and I think maybe in Wendy's university and other big centers, we do have employee services. I cannot speak for other countries, but I think having a session like this, which Magda, Joyce, and Wendy put together so well, is important because we have a platform to share. And also, if somebody says, I'm not happy, give them your time. This is the biggest thing we can do for each other. And last but not least, in answer to your question about the mentor-mentee, this is like you said about soldiers, we all have to be disciplined. When you're a mentor, you're disciplined. When you're a mentee, you need to be equally disciplined. And both of them, it's a mutual relationship. We have a mentor program, which is myself and one of my colleagues at New York Medical College. We co-chair for our medical students, and we lay down the grounds very strictly there. We are going to come, when we pair you up with a mentor, please make sure you also show the responsibility. It's not a parasitic relationship, but it's a symbiotic relationship. Thank you, Magda, for letting me jump in.
Thank you very much, Minnie. Your response is really, really valued. So do we have any other questions? I think Elizabeth Oboli.
Yeah. Elizabeth, speak, please, or mute yourself.
Hello. Hello, everybody. Good evening. Good afternoon. Can you hear me now?
Yes. There's a lot of background noise.
Sorry.
Yeah, where are you? You're in a noisy place.
Okay, let me move away from the noise. I want to appreciate the webinar. It's been so informative and so educative. I really am glad that I joined in. I want to express my appreciation. Secondly, I want to say that my question is, I know that we are doing a lot of mentoring, both formally and informally, but I don't know, I want to ask, how can we strengthen what we are doing? How can we make it into a more or less formal or organized system, so that it will be so easy once one comes in, you get into the process seamlessly without having any stresses, and it becomes a lasting tradition for the medical woman, both at the national levels, the regional levels, and even at the MWIA. That is my question. Thank you very much.
Mag, I want to put a question I saw on the chat. Can you see the question? Mark, can you see the question? On the screen. It's on the screen now. It's on my sharing screen.
Yes, can we have this for some sort of continuous medical education? How do we go about this? Will CME certification be given to the registered participants? Okay, that's a very interesting question. For every, could those not speaking please mute? Sorry, could those not speaking please mute their microphone? Joyce, Joyce, could you perhaps mute your, I think, yes, thank you. Now, I think that for every organisation, every college, the CME requirements are a little different. So, for instance, in Australia, the Royal College of GPs, the Royal Australian College of GPs, we now have the capacity to self-administer to apply for CME points after we've attended an event if you describe what the benefit of it was. So I think that participation in something like this for 90 minutes, if there is a facility within your own college, then you could happily use this. As for us applying for college CME points, we'll have to have a conversation about that as a group, but I'm not sure how we provide this universally, but we have to consider this. Oh, Wendy?
Yeah, so I handled CME for the School of Medicine in Maryland. So it could come from the sponsoring institution that we're doing this through. It does cost money. That's what the problem is for the points. And it's per person. So there would have to be almost a charge per person to get those. And that's where the problems come. It's financial. Joyce, you're muted.
Sorry, Joyce, I think.
Okay, thank you. I think back to Mark. I don't know if there's any other thing. I thought, are we missing out on any other thing, Antonella? Okay, Wendy, over to you. Mark, go back to you, sorry.
Well, unless I think it would be really nice to round it off tonight. I think I want to say thank you to the African Universities Association for hosting the webinar and for providing the service to us. This is much appreciated, and to Debota for facilitating that, as I said. I'd like to thank the wonderful speakers, Wendy Bernstein, Professor Padmini, Murthy, and Dr. Claribel Abam for attending and for taking the time to produce your presentations, which have really deepened our understanding of the work that we all do, you all do, and the importance of providing support to women doctors along their journey. I would like to thank Eleanor Nwadinobi, President of MWIA, and Dr. Desiree Yap, President of Western Pacific Region, for supporting our activities and for participating tonight and for being present, and for your leadership. And that includes also Padmini Murthy, who's our Secretary General. And I thank all the members of MWIA for their passion, for their commitment, collaboration. This is a team effort, as I can vouch for. I have a wonderful team. Wendy, Joyce, you're wonderful. Antonella, thank you so much. You know, I've pulled you out of semi-retirement to do more and more work, but I love you very much. And I think that this is just a sample of what we can do and how we can connect, and we will build on this. I think what we've got from today is that this is a really important area that we all would like to invest more time in. So without further ado,
I'm going to interrupt you, Magda, because I'd like to thank you and the panel on behalf of everybody that's here tonight for really an absolutely amazing presentation from everyone. So if everybody could clap their hands so that we could see it on the screen. And I think that those who have got questions and want to go away should think about how they can contribute to
I thoroughly enjoyed myself.
Thank you.
It's beautiful. Thank you.
I would like to thank Magda and team. This is, you know, what MWIA is all about. Our special interest groups, you are our backbone, and how very relevant the topic is. We really look forward to this being a series as you have started that conversation, and in line with our theme of involving our young members, looking forward to a more diverse group. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Magda, Des, Joyce, Wendy.
Thank you.
And also Antonella, I think this was really great. Thank you so much for doing it. And you know what? I speak on behalf of Wendy, my fellow American, that it was worth getting up this morning and being ready to do that. So thank you all. Please stay safe, everybody. And thank you for everything all our colleagues do in these very challenging times. And we need to be more supportive of each other and less critical as we move on to beat the virus. We have one common enemy, that's COVID. Thank you all so much, Magda. Really appreciate it. Fabulous job. Thank you. Thanks,
Thank you for the big presentation.
Thanks, Joyce and Wendy.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you, Magdalena, for the mention.
Bye.
Thank you, my chair, Simoni. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you to both.
Thank you for allowing us to Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, Magda. Bye, Joyce.
Thank you.